There's an old saying that warns, before embarking on a journey of revenge, dig two graves. One for your enemy, one for yourself. In this story, we're going to need a lot more than two. My name's Justin, and I spend my time looking into what some don't understand, what most don't want to believe. This is Horror Investigations. The story starts with Joel admitting to Tommy about killing many fireflies, including Marlene and the head surgeon. He takes Ellie away, effectively ending any chance for a cure. Tommy says if it were him in that position, he would have done the same. 4 years later, Joel and Ellie have settled down in a community in Jackson, Wyoming. Ellie is now 19 and has made friends with Dina and Jesse. Her and Joel's relationship has become somewhat strained recently.
I'll go back. But we're done.
Infected hordes are still a threat to safety and way of life, so patrols are assigned daily. While Joel and Tommy are on patrol, they rescue a woman named Abby, who is being chased by dozens of infected. They find shelter from the pursuing infected as well as a blizzard in a lodge. Inside the lodge, Abby's group is already waiting and attack Tommy and Joel. Tommy gets knocked out and Abby beats Joel senseless with a golf club. Abby and her group were there looking for Joel the entire time. She happens to be the daughter of a man named Jerry Anderson, the head surgeon of the Fireflies that Joel killed while saving Ellie. Abby and the remaining Fireflies joined a group called the Washington Liberation Front, based in Seattle. We'll call them the WLF for the rest of the video. Meanwhile, Ellie hears that Joel and Tommy never checked in from their last patrol. She follows the trail of dead infected to the former Firefly's lodge. Once inside, they restrain her, and she can only watch as Abby beats Joel to death right in front of her. Through guttural screams, Ellie swears her revenge on all of them, with pools of tears in her eyes. Ellie and Tommy return Joel's body to Jackson, where he was buried. Tommy hunts Abby's group back to Seattle, leaving behind only a note. Ellie follows him while Dina tags along. Once reaching the city, they find members of the WLF already tortured and killed by Tommy. Hot on Tommy's trail, the two girls are ambushed. Ellie gets captured, and just before she is executed, Dina saves her. They find a note that reveals members of the WLF at a TV station. They reach the station and find everyone there was recently murdered with symbols on the walls written in blood. Backup arrives and the girls escape through a subway tunnel. In the tunnel, Ellie's mask cracks, exposing her to the spores of the virus. Dina is frightened for her life, but Ellie finally tells her that she's immune to the virus. They find solace in an abandoned theater, where Ellie tells a story of when she was bitten years earlier. In a vulnerable moment, Dina tells Ellie that she is pregnant. I guess now is the time to explain that these two have recently been engaging in a romantic relationship. We can assume that Dina is pregnant with Jesse's baby, since they were dating prior to the story. There's been plenty of cozy moments between Dina and Ellie so far. I just didn't know how to mention it between all the murder. Ellie seems conflicted about hearing the news and storms off, calling Dina a burden in the process. They set up camp in the theater, and Ellie sees a guitar that makes her think of a memory with Joel. It was her 15th birthday, and he took her to an abandoned museum. In the memory, we see how strong their bond once was, and that Joel truly acted like her surrogate father. The next day, Dina fixes an old military radio, and they overhear the WLF's comms. An alert of a lone male trespasser who is armed. Believing this is Tommy, Ellie goes to check it out for herself. Dina stays behind for her safety, but they make up before parting. Ellie sneaks in between patrols when she stumbles into the person they were talking about on the radio. Turns out to be Jesse, who followed them all the way to Seattle. The two of them fight their way to the theater, and the three friends unite, in an awkward love triangle kind of way. Ellie once again goes out on her own, this time to track down one of Abby's group. On her way there, she runs into the Seraphites, a violent religious cult who was at war with the WLF. She tracks down Nora in a hospital and tortures her to tell her Abby's location is a nearby aquarium. The event leaves Ellie traumatized and starting to regret all the terrible things she's done for her own revenge. A flashback reveals that, years earlier, Ellie traveled to the Firefly Hospital in Salt Lake City and learned the truth. Devastated, she cut ties with Joel. In the present, Jesse convinces Ellie they should all go back to Jackson, because he doesn't want to endanger Dina's life any longer than they already have. Ellie agrees, but doesn't want to leave without Tommy. Her and Jesse go out to find Tommy, but Ellie breaks off on her own and goes to the aquarium instead. There she finds Owen and Mel, Abby's friend and boyfriend. She ends up killing them and shortly finds out that Mel was pregnant. Realizing this, she begins to have a panic attack. Tommy and Jesse show up and bring her back to the theater, accidentally leaving their map behind. Back at the theater, they begin to plot their route back to Jackson. Abby attacks them in the theater, having tracked them down. Jesse is shot and killed, and Tommy is held hostage. Ellie offers her life in exchange for Tommy's safety. 3 days earlier, Isaac, the leader of the WLF, reveals his plans for an all-out attack on the Seraphites Island. Owen has been missing for a few days, and Abby goes to look for him. She gets captured by the Seraphites. She escapes with the help of Lev and Yara, two siblings ostracized from the religious cult for rejecting their traditions. Abby finds Owen at the aquarium, telling her he wants to leave and join a rumored Firefly branch in Santa Barbara. Lev, the younger sibling, runs off to try to help his mother escape the Seraphites. Yara says their mother is too devout to the cult and will kill Lev for breaking tradition when he gets there. The two of them travel to the Seraphite Island, shortly before the WLF, led by Isaac, launch their attack. They find Lev at the sibling's house, having killed his mother in self-defense. They try to quickly flee the island, but run right into Isaac's WLF team. Abby refuses to let the WLF kill the siblings, which angers Isaac. Yara sacrifices herself, so Lev and Abby can escape. They steal a boat and escape as the two factions kill each other. Back at the aquarium, Abby finds Owen and Mel murdered. Lev recovers a map left behind by the killers, revealing their location. They head to the theater and break in. Our stories collide back at the standoff. Tommy fights with Abby to let Ellie run, but he gets shot in the process. Abby and Ellie brawl, with Abby easily overpowering her. Dina comes out of hiding with a knife, but she doesn't present a challenge either. Abby is about to kill Dina in the name of revenge, but Lev convinces her that enough people have died today. Abby lets them live, warning to never cross her again. A year passes by. Ellie and Dina live on a farm, raising Dina and Jesse's son, JJ. Her and Dina's relationship is thriving, and it really seems like a happy ending. But it's not over yet. Ellie still suffers from PTSD from Joel's death and the events in Seattle. Tommy stops by and gives a tip that Abby and Lev are living along the coast of Santa Barbara. Dina chases him out of the house, but it still eats at Ellie. She leaves despite Dina's protests. Abby and Lev are in Santa Barbara searching for a rumored new Fireflies outpost, hoping to rejoin their ranks for Owen and for her father. They get captured by a group known as the Rattlers, a slave-owning group who torture them over several months. When Ellie finds them, Abby is tied to a post on the beach and in a very weakened state. She forces Abby to fight her by threatening Lev. Abby bites two of Ellie's fingers off, but ultimately, Ellie gains the upper hand. Ellie can't bring herself to kill Abby. All her flashbacks of Joel, the loss of her friends, the inability to eat and sleep and think clearly. She realizes that killing Abby won't solve any of that. She lets the two of them escape on a boat while she returns to the farm. There, she finds that Dina and JJ have left, leaving Ellie alone in the house she could have been happy in. She picks up the guitar that Joel once gave her and has another flashback. She tells him that if he let her die in that hospital, then life would have meant something. He tells her that if he could do it all over again, he'd make the same decision to save her. She admits she wants to salvage the relationship. The next day was the day he was killed. In this story, two vengeful spirits waged war on each other, creating more and more collateral damage until almost nothing was left. Their battle was almost symmetrical to the battle between the WLF and the cultists. Their thirst for revenge of what happened in the past cost them not only their future, but the future of those around them. We can only hope that Abby and Lev end up regrouping with the Fireflies, and that Ellie can move on and live her life. I'm sure that's what Joel would have wanted. And if you're considering leaving your life behind to hunt someone down for revenge, then hey, careful out there.